Hello all, welcome to the Consistently OK podcast, a podcast where we dive into all things pop culture related from comics to films and everything in between. My name's Luke.
I'm Nick.
Join us every week for a podcast that doesn't set its bar too high or too low, but rather keeps it at a consistently OK level for your enjoyment. I would cry with happiness if I saw Harry's art with Infinity Gauntlet wielding Thanos against Mr. Freeze, even though Thanos would kill him probably, but it's just my two favourite villains. Yeah, man, that'd be cool. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on the Consistently OK podcast. This week we're going to talk all things 2021 and what we're looking forward to the most throughout the year. We're going to cover some films, some TV shows, games, and some comics, most likely. So we're going to dive right in with the first thing on our list, which is one of the biggest things for both of us, if not a lot of people that are comic fans and film fans, people that want to right some wrongs in the world.
Yep.
And that is the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. And
yes.
I'm sure you have a lot to say, Nick. I didn't ask you how you were, actually. Maybe I just don't care anymore.
Well, as we established a couple of podcasts ago, I'm apparently just always with you. So
that's true. Yeah, we're a we, aren't we? Yeah, that's true. So we're okay, listeners. But I should. Are you okay? Just because
it says begrudgingly, are you okay? I'm all good. Yeah, just Pneumatic season 3 comes out on Monday, so when people are listening to this, chapter 1 will already be out. Hopefully I didn't ruin it. I have this latest season's just been hard, but we'll see, I guess. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fine, yeah, just ticking along nicely, reading lots of comics as always. It's pretty much what I do for most of my days. Yeah, thanks. Things are good. I've been reading some really good stuff recently. I've been reading Donny Cates' Crossover, which is a fantastic read so far. A few issues into that.
Jealous.
I've become a bit obsessive going down rabbit holes of YouTube videos as well, particularly when it comes to CGC grading of comics.
Ooh, interesting.
I don't know why. I've started doing it, but I just can't stop just seeing about mint condition comics. And sometimes I watch them, I think, you know what, I'm going to send all my comics off to get graded and I'm going to see what I get. And then I think, oh, what's the point in that? Like, I'm never going to get rid of them, am I? It's just, I don't know what's happened to me. But, when you start watching something on YouTube and then you get all the following videos.
Dude, it happened the other week to me. I can't remember what I was doing. I was watching something on YouTube and then a recommended video was watching somebody clean up an old PS1. That was
I've seen them. There's PS1 and they do like Game Boy Colors and stuff.
Yeah,
I've been there. I've seen that. Yeah. My one that I watched the other day as well was, Harry would love this. If you're listening, Harry, you'll appreciate this. I watched every finishing move in a WWF/WWE game. So it's just like hour-long video on YouTube, and it started with, I think it was the Sega games, where it's just super basic.
Incredible.
They like strangling each other, and then you set the finishes, and it went through like Kamala, Mr. Perfect, and everything, and then it was like the second version, then it went to like all the way through to WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy and SmackDown. I just couldn't stop watching it, and obviously the later into the series it gets, there's like 50 wrestlers on the roster, and it's just it's like the SmackDown one where you do the people's elbow and it just says like SmackDown across the screen.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so that's and after I finished it, I thought, I'll never get that time of my life back again. And then I watched, this is just going way off the podcast point, but I started watching dodgeball tournaments from 10 years ago. I have no idea. It's like Canada versus USA. I thought, man, these guys are really going for it. And I couldn't stop. I text my friends from work, and we always talk about like the rabbit holes of YouTube. It's just like, I spent 40 minutes watching a dodgeball from 10 years ago that I don't care about really, but I can't stop watching because it was one guy for Canada and he was so good and he always got left on his own.
I hope he listens to this podcast.
Yeah, me too. He'd be so happy. Like, wow. I feel like he's made it. So anyway, that's that. So 2021, we're basically going to just watch a load of YouTube videos. That's all we can look forward to, because
that's all we have time for. It's just
that's all we have time for. You said we, Nick.
It's contagious.
It's love.
Yeah.
So Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut, aka nothing to do with Joss Whedon, who's the bad man
Yeah.
Let's not go into that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we had a new trailer.
New trailer. I mean, I was going to say, as of this recording, this will come out on...
This will come out in March, which will be Snyder Cut month.
This will come out in March. Perfect timing. So let's just say, yeah. So this month, you'll all get to watch the Snyder Cut, which is in 2021, which this podcast is centered around this week. And yeah, there was a new trailer, lots of teasers before the trailer. I think you and I spoke briefly about it, saying that I still was waiting for some new footage, and the trailer that came out, what would be 2 weeks ago when this is released, definitely had some new stuff in it, definitely some revamped characters, a lot of black suit Superman, things like that. So you tell me how much that raised your expectations for the Snyder Cut.
I don't know if it did. I don't know if it raised them or whether it did exactly what I needed it to do, because I think I said on our Snyder Cut podcast that as much as I loved that original teaser trailer, which I thought was amazing, a lot of that teaser trailer is very much, here's the things that you thought you knew were going to be in the film, and I'm just confirming them for you. So that, like that trailer, that first trailer anyway, the fandom one, does exist basically just to confirm fans' expectations that those things are happening. This trailer, going into it, I think I'd said to you and a few friends that what it needs to do is it needs to show that it's a completely different film. And I think it does that. I think you can see the echoes of you know, what was the theatrical version. You can see the moments in there that you're like, oh, okay, so I know those bits of the story, but there's so much in this trailer that I don't know where it fits in. Like the bat tank war vehicle thing, whatever it's called, I've forgotten its name. Where the fuck does that fit in? Because that's a huge thing to leave out of a theatrical cut. Chuck that in and it's fan service 101. But
where does it go? I was thinking, like, surely that goes at the end, the end fight, doesn't it?
I have no idea. It's such a huge thing to include, and there was a lot of stuff in there. You know, like again, Darkseid, Granny Goodness, all of that stuff. Why would anyone remove that from a Justice League film? Why would anyone go, yeah, let's not do that? It's just...
I mean, there's a lot of stuff now, isn't there? The more and more stuff comes out of the woodwork, isn't it? With the whole stuff going on with Joss Whedon and things that well, actually, it was something. A classic that I've read something and I can't remember the source, but it was an interview. I can't remember where it was, but they were saying that it's probably old news, but it was new news to me that Christopher Nolan watched the film with Zack Snyder's wife at a screening.
Yeah.
Justice League, and they were like, Zack, buddy, you've been through enough pain recently, don't watch it. There's nothing. And just when you hear things like that, you think, man, that went some ultimate changes, didn't it? Just completely. Joss Whedon stripped it down and he redid 70% of it, and they paid him an awesome amount of money just to basically redo what Zack Snyder did. And I guess they wanted sort of the Avengers effect, didn't they, with a bit more comedy, brighter colors and stuff. But you can see from this trailer that's just not what it was supposed to be, and I think everyone knew that, didn't they?
I mean, I don't know if you read the article where that snippet came from, the bit about Nolan and his wife watching it, but the article was really interesting. It's basically the journey to how you got to the Snyder Cut, and a lot of it was focused on what happened at the time in 2017, 2016, whatever. Yeah,
I did. That is where I got it then. I did get it from an article. If it's anything over a week ago, Nick, feels like a lifetime ago. So I'm just pleased that it's something that I've read that I generally read and didn't dream.
It was a really interesting article, because I think for me, one of the highlights out of that article was there was a bit where they quote an anonymous Warner Brothers exec who says that everybody knew when they watched it that the theatrical version was a piece of shit. And you kind of just think at that point, nobody was really backing that version of the film. However, that version of the film is what these Warner Brothers execs, board members, whoever it is, wanted. They wanted something that was colorful, humorous, and was just nonsensical, and bang on 2 hours so they could make a load of money. And you kind of just think like you've lost all sense of kind of what a film is when you decide to just go down that path. And
not just what a film is, but there's a complete difference between an Avengers film and what a Justice League film could be.
Yeah.
To the world that Zack Snyder set up in things like Man of Steel, bearing in mind Superman, cracks Zod's neck, or not cracks, breaks, and you wouldn't really get anything like that in the Avengers. I know obviously we had like some emotional endings and things like that, but that's fine. But that is not the path Zack Snyder set this DC film universe off on. So
no.
The fact that, you know, these executives and stuff have just changed it to make it something it's not, and just how fucking stupid they must feel with all the feedback that it got, it's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. And I think that's the reason that, you know, this is probably a great starting point for us in terms of 2021 films, because it's such a huge event. We never thought was going to happen until it was just announced last June. And it was something that, you know, I know from my side of things anyway, I spent countless hours talking to Harry about it. All of us kind of saying, you know, this was in it, we've heard rumblings of this, we've heard rumblings of this. Probably never going to see it because Warner's will never do it. Like, why would they point out that they made a bad mistake, you know? But seeing it happen, it's so much more than just the film now. It is a sense of, as you said, it's righting a wrong, in that very rarely do you get a second chance to make something.
Yeah.
And not even that, but you get to make it to exactly how you want it. There's no studio interference. Like, everything we get in this film, if it comes out and people hate it, at least you know that that's everything that Zack wanted to do. There's nothing in it that is somebody else's fault. It's all Zack. If it comes out and it's absolutely loved, then you kind of go like, okay, that's a creator who knows what he's doing. And again, that article I read, I know it's a puff piece, but effectively to say like, this thing's great and what have you, but I've never read anything about people working with Zack and it being shit. Like, everybody who seems to have worked with him say
they seem to really like it.
Yeah, he's like really creative. He's really kind of like hands-on and works with people. It's not like, I'm the director, you're the actor. It's very much like a collaboration and a communication. And I think that's what makes this version of Justice League so exciting, is that everybody seems to just be pouring love into it. There doesn't seem to be anybody who's, you know, worked on it that's kind of like, yeah, we'll see. Everybody seems to be like, yeah,
on board.
Yes, there's so much heart behind it. So,
do you think, random question, well, not really a random question because we're talking about it, but do you think that Zack Snyder's Justice League, before obviously he had a family tragedy and had to leave the project and Joss Whedon took over, Zack Snyder's Justice League, if it had been released the first time round with him as the director, do you think we would have still had a 2-hour cut that the studio like tore apart slightly?
Yep.
So basically, do you think that in a way it's actually worked out better for Zack Snyder in this one? Obviously, you don't want to lose your daughter and stuff like that. I don't mean that, obviously.
Yeah.
But in terms of his vision and everything he wrote down in a script and everything that he shot, there wouldn't really be a 4-hour cut with this much fanfare if he had just released it in the cinema the first time and it got panned or whatever happened to it and it was cut down to like 2.5 hours. Probably a director's cut further down the line, but it wouldn't be to this much.
Yeah, I think it would have been similar to Batman vs Superman in that I think the theatrical cut would have been like, there's something there. Like that's the thing. The theatrical cut of Justice League is like, there's nothing there. There's like the odd bit where you're like, I think that's what Zack shot, but I can't really tell. Whereas Bat Soups is like, the theatrical version is a case of you watch it and you kind of go, there is something there. But then when you watch the ultimate version, you kind of go, oh, the things that made the plot make sense have been removed because they wanted to fit within a time frame. And I think had he got his theatrical version of Justice League, I think it would have felt like it's missing stuff because the studio asked to interfere. Like that version of Steppenwolf that we got in Joss's version, that existed in Zack's theatrical version because that's what the studio wanted. Like they didn't want the spiky badass looking one. They wanted more humanoid, more kind of, you know. And I think
spiky badass one is a lot better.
So cool. Just in that trailer, the stuff where he's like using the axe to like hit the Amazonians and stuff, that looks so much more like vicious and he looks like a villain, whereas in Justice League it's like you could be anybody really. I don't get the impression you're threatening at all.
You look like that Steppenwolf looked like a Power Ranger villain from the old TV series.
Yeah, it just wasn't good.
Sucked.
So I think the one that would have come out would have been like an amalgamation of, Zack's there, but it's also a shame. It feels like Warner's stepped in. Whereas this one does feel like it's just full-blown metal. It's just everything you could ever want from his world is going to be there.
I mean, I'm more excited now. This is the first time since I've seen that trailer the other day, and all the negativity I've had towards it a bit when you and Harry and I have spoken in the past. And obviously I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the DCU films, but I am now to the point where me and a couple of guys from work have said we are going to watch this together. Like, we're going to make it an evening.
Nice.
We're going to watch it 4 hours straight, get some stuff in, because all of us now have been turned slightly into thinking this could be fantastic, or it could be an absolute shit show in a way, because everything looks good in the trailer, but there could be some moments where it's just not so polished, or because he didn't do any reshoots either, to maybe there is some things that don't work. Because I assume he's not going to use any of Joss's footage, but he must be using some of it, surely, because he didn't finish the film.
No, like, I think the thing that he hadn't finished was the visual effects. I think he had filmed everything.
Okay.
But he hadn't done the visual effects. So that's where like the majority of the budget went. And then the reshoot or additional photography that he did, I'm pretty sure is just that scene with Leto's Joker. And he said, I read an interview with him where he said basically at the time when they were filming in London, he had the idea of doing that. And he was like, maybe down the line I'll get to film it. And then he said over the years that, he's thought about the film or had the film or whatever, that story part has become integral for him. So he knew he had to go and film it to add to the film.
So Ben Affleck did reshoots. He shot those scenes as well then, right?
Yeah.
Because Jared Leto, come in to do these specifically or more in depth.
Yeah, I think from what I can gather, the reshoots was Ray Fisher, Cyborg, Amber Heard, Mira.
Yep.
Ezra Miller and Affleck went back, and Leto. I think they were just the five that went back to film like basically a nightmare sequence. I think possibly what's his face went back and did some Manhunter stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. But do you think the nightmare stuff's probably, in my head, it's going to be about an hour longer, the film? I think the nightmare stuff will be a massive portion of it.
Yeah. I think it is going to be like a pretty intense part. And I think it's going to be awesome.
I think so as well. I'm definitely sold on it. It's definitely one of the things. I mean, like you said, it's the fact that it's now in just a few weeks' time. Actually released the day before my wife's birthday. She is so excited. She's really excited for a 4-hour Justice League film. She's like, "You really going to watch it with your friends and not me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am, because I can watch it again with you on your actual birthday." So really excited about that. It's going to be a really cool event, and we'll do a podcast. Obviously, we'll get Harry involved. We'll do a podcast unboxing all. It's probably going to take 8 hours to unbox it all, I'm sure, because I think we are doing a podcast on 2021, and we spoke for the Snyder Cut for a lot of the time.
Yeah. Next film. What else is on your list? What else are you excited?
What else is on my list? I mean, obviously we're in the comic zone already, so I'll just take these ones out of the equation straight away. Although I'm very excited. I'm really excited about Spider-Man 3, which we now know has a title, which is
No Way Home.
What is it? No Way Home. I kept thinking of Home Slice because that's what they joked about for so long. So No Way Home, and obviously they did the whiteboard with loads of links. If anyone hasn't seen it, you can see it on the Twitter accounts for Marvel, and everyone's got loads of Easter eggs pointing at a million different things. Like there's hexes around the board, hexagons for linking to potentially Doctor Strange 2, and like the little drawing around the actual Spider-Man name looks like where Miles Morales is from. So there's a bunch of teasers, but obviously Spider-Man 3, which is out Christmas this year, which is really good and
crazy.
Also 3 other films, which I'm really excited about. The Eternals, because that's got Guardians of the Galaxy vibes for me. We haven't seen anything, but in terms of on paper, Guardians of the Galaxy never should have worked the way it did with a talking raccoon and a talking tree. But here we are, and I think Eternals is going to be. I think it could be really, really good from the way people are talking about it. I know everyone hypes up their work like Kevin Feige and stuff, but I really like the Eternals as comic characters. A lot of their older stuff is really good, and I think it could be the platform to really springboard the cosmic era in these Marvel films. So I'm excited about that. And Shang-Chi, I'm excited because that feels like it's just a standalone film, like in a way.
Yep.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say a question about that. So I was talking to my brother the other day about the MCU stuff, and we were trying to figure out how everything fits together, basically. So you've got Black Widow, which is sort of there to tell the story of Natasha, or fill in the Budapest thing, we assume, as well as I assume a big point of it is to introduce Florence Pugh's character, because I get the impression she's going to be quite integral to the next.
I'm pretty sure she signed on for like 5 or 6 films or something.
Yeah, so I think she's going to be pretty big. I'm pretty sure she's in Hawkeye as well. I think I read that somewhere.
I think so.
So there's that. There's obviously Doctor Strange is linked to WandaVision, and Spidey's probably going to be linked to Doctor Strange as well. So you've got those kind of doing the multiverse thing. And then the thing the two that I just don't know what their grand plan is, like where they really fit in, are Shang-Chi and the Eternals, because the Eternals for me looks awesome, sounds really cool, and I like the sound of kind of what they've done with it, but I don't understand what it does in terms of the cosmic setup, because the cosmic setup for me is like you've got Captain Marvel and you've got Guardians. So
I think Eternals is the beginning of everything cosmic. I think the Eternals, because they came before they're like the Celestials and things, they're at the start of pretty much everything. They're like the first cosmic superhero team, and I don't know if it's been labeled as prequel yet, but in my head it's always been a prequel of sorts, but because it's in space, it's not really going to link to anything to do with Earth or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they touched upon Thanos, whether it's got something to do with his parents or something, or they know of him. But it's about the start of everything, essentially. These guys are like the first cosmic group. So I see, obviously Black Widow is it's a prequel essentially, isn't it? But it's in between Civil War and I don't know, I think it's after Civil War, but before Infinity War.
Yeah.
I think that's in the middle of those. So that just is what it is. Shang-Chi is it's going to be obviously it's really aimed at a certain market with the Asian market, obviously, but that he'll be involved in future films as well. He'll be a big deal, but I don't think that's specifically going to link to anything.
Yeah.
I think his first film is just going to be almost like a standalone, but he'll get a sequel, I'm sure, and then he will just link to an Avengers film, or there'll be a big bad one there. The big bad has to be someone like, if it's not Galactus with everything going on, it's going to be, there's going to have to be a big bad before Galactus, because they haven't even got a script for Fantastic Four. So it has to be something there.
That's sort of what I was kind of suggesting. Well, my brother and I were kind of throwing around was, does the Eternals kind of lay some of the groundwork for hinting at Galactus?
I think it will. I think it's going to lay
its connection.
Yeah, there's going to be two parts of the MCU essentially, as far as I know. There's going to be the on Earth stuff, which will be heavily based on the multiverse, I think, and Spider-Man will be he'll be the Iron Man type person, and then you're going to have the cosmic stuff, which will be heavily led by Captain Marvel, I assume, but you'll have Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, Eternals will be linked in there, and then that'll be the thing that eventually those worlds are going to collide to fight whatever the next big bad is. You'll have Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, all these guys. I think the key really to this whole thing comes from whatever happens in Doctor Strange 2, doesn't it? Because Eternals could be a prequel, but I think Doctor Strange 2 is the big, that's the one where we're going to see multiple characters in it, where the Spider-Man makes an appearance as well. And I think that's the big thing to see where the MCU is really going. But the TV shows, obviously, we might as well throw those in now. So looking forward to 2021. Like Loki's going to have a little bit to do with probably stuff in the cosmic world, but WandaVision obviously links to Doctor Strange 2. Winter Soldier and Falcon will bleed heavily into whatever the Avengers path is, which will be more on Earth. So there's just a lot of moving parts, but I don't think anyone really knows because obviously they're delayed a year, aren't they?
Yeah.
So by now we should have really had an idea of where they're going, but we don't. We have no idea really. So it's all second guessing.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it's because it's sort of in that middle ground of they're obviously laying groundwork for something that's going to come and something that will be like their big bad next. But at the same time, I think Eternals, and I was always thinking that Shang-Chi would be sort of a standalone adventure, but Eternals was just the one where I was like, I don't know what it does in terms of the cosmic landscape, because they've already got two massive stories going in terms of cosmic, like Captain Marvel and thingy. So I was like, Eternals, how do you get a second Eternals film? What do you do with a second Eternals film if there is going to be one?
I don't even know if there would be, though. That's the thing. Okay. I don't know if Eternals are just going to be in the mix generally, because if there's a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which there's going to be, because as far as we're aware, like James Gunn is still a big part of this MCU stuff. So
yeah,
they all talk, they all know where they're going roughly, don't they? Like John Watts will have an idea of what he's going to do with Fantastic Four now, and they would have talked. But I think they're obviously planning. They want to get to another Endgame, don't they? They want to get there. So that's going to take essentially 2 or 3 phases, and in all these phases, you've got to throw Blade in there. You've got to throw in, who's the other character they said they were going to do. I can't remember who I was going to say now, but you've got Blade, you've got all the TV shows, She-Hulk, Moon Knight's going to be involved. You've got the X-Men just waiting to pounce, and now with everything going on WandaVision, we're not quite sure what's going on with that stuff, because it looks like, spoiler for anyone who's not seen it, that Quicksilver from the X-Men universe is there, but he just looks like he's just...
It looks like
doesn't really look like... Yeah,
like I'm pretty sure it's going to be somebody else. I saw somebody the other day hypothesize that apparently Agatha has a son at some point in the comics history, and they're sort of suggesting that could be him.
The son?
Yeah.
I think she's just whipped him up, and it's like a shock factor for us, obviously, isn't it? But
yeah, I think it is.
It's just like he's never been an X-Men member. He's not come from another universe. He just looks like Evan Peters.
Yeah.
Anyway, but can't talk about WandaVision now. It's too much to unwrap.
Too much.
But yeah, so all the Marvel stuff I'm really excited about. The Eternals, I believe it's just a prequel. I might be well off here, but obviously I think whatever the trailer would show us will probably reveal a lot, but I'm starting to think they're going to hold off of that until like things like Falcon and Winter Soldier are done, maybe. But I have no idea really. I'm as much in the dark as I felt like I used to know what the beats were going to be in the last phases, but I'm all over, because obviously Ant-Man and Wasp, that third one, that's all about the quantum realm as well. So quantum realm, you've got multiverses, you've got cosmic films, you've got She-Hulk as a lawyer, probably. You've got Moon Knight. It's just mental how much you've got a vampire that's going to show up. It's just it's crazy.
I did see actually. Just touching on Blade there, I saw Feige yesterday in an interview that they're not planning on exploring an R-rated MCU film besides Deadpool 3.
Yeah, that's who I was going to say. You got Deadpool. That's the one I was going to say after I said Blade. You got to throw Deadpool in there as well.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed if they don't explore an R-rated Blade, because I feel like a 12A Blade doesn't work. I feel like it's going to be Van Helsing.
I suppose it depends on what they want to do with Blade, isn't it? It depends if they want to put Blade in some form of the Avengers or something. I really think the way to go with Blade is R-rated, but I also think that a new Defenders film or TV show with Blade and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Daredevil, or a Marvel Knights film, it's really got some potential.
Yeah, I feel like all of that has to go down the R rating. I can't imagine Blade working as a 12A. I don't. No. There's too much to his character that's like visceral and kind of aggressive for it to just be a 12A. I don't know.
I am a little, for the first time I've actually felt a little bit, as much as I've always wanted all these films on the cinema screen and TV screen, there is an awful lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's tough to, you think about the first Avengers film when it felt kind of like amazing to me, not you, because you didn't care. Like Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hulk, all these characters on the screen together. It was like, whoa. But then you go for something like Endgame when you see all those characters. And now, even though they've done Endgame, the tap of these superheroes is just crazy. Like the fact that we said before on our MCU podcast, I think, that there's something out every week now, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we have WandaVision finishing, and just as that finishes, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then when that's done, you've got Black Widow, and then when Black Widow's done, you go straight into Loki.
Yeah.
And then when Loki's done, you go straight into Shang-Chi, and then Shang-Chi, there's What If. It's just absolutely mental. You know, the fact that they can say here, easily, they could say, oh, we're not going to do a season 2 of things, because they don't need to do a season 2 of things, because it's just like these characters are going to be in the film every now and again, and then they're going to pop up in other TV shows, but just mental. I mean, that is
crazy. The
superhero stuff is just going to take over 2021 like it always does, Nick. So we perhaps don't need to go into anything else. But one film that's separate from that talking about like R-rated and horror, and although I don't think this is R-rated or an 18 or whatever, however we call it, is A Quiet Place 2, which is something I'm actually really excited about, which is a completely different world. But I really liked A Quiet Place, and this is one that's been postponed now from last year to this year. I think it's due out later this year now. It's not.
Yeah, I think it's like November. I think
November, so it's
October.
It's a way away yet, but it looks really good because it's got a really good cast. It's got Cillian Murphy now, taking over, I guess, the main lead role for the male character, because I always forget his name, John Krasinski.
Yeah, John Krasinski.
He's directing. He's written it again. He looks like, from the trailer at least, he's in
the opening.
Yeah, the opening before all the shit kicks off. But it's nice because the nicest thing you could really tell from Quiet Place is how well him and Emily Blunt work together. And obviously it's a passion project because he's directed it, and it's his wife, who's Emily Blunt. So the child actors are fantastic in it as well. Yeah, I really liked Quiet Place, and it's very eerie and it's very unsettling.
Yeah,
and I think Quiet Place 2, because it's the same writer director, a lot of the same cast, feels to me that it's going to be just as good as the first one, because it looks like it's taken a lot of the same elements of the first one, but there's a twist on it, because in the first one they're in this house with this setup, and then now they're not there anymore, so they're out in the open world, which is really, really intriguing to me.
Yeah, I think it looks really, really cool, and I love the fact that when they started sort of shopping around a sequel, that it was originally going to be somebody else writing and directing, and then it sort of changed because Krasinski had an idea. He was like, I know what to do, and that idea sort of overtook him, where he was like, I'm sorry, I have to write and direct this. That's sort of similar to the Snyder Cut, where it's that same level of like passion, that same level of love, that it's like, I just have to go and do this because I know what it is. I think that sort of means that there's something really special there. So I think that's going to be cool. I'm really excited about that. And kind of jumping off of something that's not superhero related, something that I'm really excited about this year is The French Dispatch.
Yeah, of course.
Wes Anderson is just, every film he does, I seem to just love, and it's just, he's got such a style. The soundtrack's always really cool. The cast is just insane. Everything.
You always know you're going to get a good trailer because you always get 1,000 snippets of every cast member involved. Yeah. Always like, oh, there's the regular guys, but then, oh, look, there's some random person that you wouldn't expect to be in there, like, I don't know, just a random actor, like, oh, there's Tom Hiddleston all of a sudden, and or something completely that you would never think is in the cast, and they're just hidden in there.
Yeah, he's
always Bill Murray, always Owen Wilson.
Got to be. It's just so, there's something really warming about his films, I think, as well. Like every time I go and watch Wes Anderson film, it always feels very much kind of like you're part of a club or something. It feels like all his films are slightly connected in cast or visual style or whatever, and there's just something really nice about it, and I'm very much looking forward to sitting down in a cinema and sort of immersing myself in a Wes Anderson film.
And that's out in the summer now, isn't it? Is it? Did I read
think
right?
so,
That
yeah.
it's like June, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is that.
Nice.
So hopefully we get to sit in the cinema, because that would be amazing.
Without going into, obviously, as we've got to roll on with what we're looking forward to, but what's your favourite Wes Anderson film?
The Darjeeling Limited.
Oh, that's mine as well.
Is it? No way.
I really didn't think you were going to say that. God,
Yeah.
we really are a we.
Yeah,
I love that film. I love the connection between the brothers and stuff.
I think really that's good. It. I think it is that kind of connection, and the sense of like them being on an adventure as well, and all of them kind of having something going on in their past that is sort of bringing them together. And I just, I think it's a really heartwarming film. And I saw it's come on to Star on Disney Plus, I think this last week. Yeah. So I think I'm going to watch it this weekend. But yeah, it's just so good.
I thought, I mean, it's an obvious choice for a lot of people, but I thought you were going to say Grand Budapest Hotel.
I do like Grand Budapest Hotel. I think it is really, really good. I think it's just that emotion that's in Darjeeling.
It's probably because brothers, isn't it? You got brothers, I got brothers. Maybe that's where
I think that might be.
Seems. I remember just watching it and thinking like, oh, that could be me, Ryan, and Aaron on that train. Like, I'd have a broken nose.
Yeah.
So it's all. I think it's a lot of the subtle details in it as well. I mean, there's obviously a shit ton of subtle details in Wes Anderson films, but that one particularly feels like he really enjoyed making it. It also feels like it's a different kind of color. A lot of his other films feel quite grey, with bright colors in it, but this one just felt yellow. If that makes any sense, but it feels like it's a different look about it.
It's sort of like ones. When they
it's shot back in the same way, but it feels a bit different as well.
The only time you're going to get that greyness is when it cuts back to the flashback of the funeral, and then the color palette sort of changes. And I think that is something really subtle that he does, that is just sort of the shift in emotion. But I love it. He's
good cast as well. Good cast. All of them as well.
Yeah, very
awesome.
Very.
What else are you looking forward to? Are we sticking with films? Should we move on? Are we covering? Just go with your instincts, Nick.
I think I'm going to jump into a TV show.
All right, jump in.
There's a fair few, but I think I'm just going to go for a couple. So the first one is Y: The Last Man. I'm so excited for that.
Great comic.
Yeah, I hope it does it justice. I mean, it's got a cool cast, and I know it's been through a few changes, but I think the story of it is really fitting for a TV show, and I think it could be really gripping. As well as at the same time, in my head, it's sort of like a bit. It's addictive, like Lost, in that there's a mystery and there's something you're trying to understand and figure out, but at the same time, there's like a sort of youthfulness to it, almost like the OC or something. That there's just, whenever I read it, there is this sense that, I don't know, there's just a really nice feel to it, and I think it's been a long time coming that it's been adapted into some form of film or TV series.
I'm looking forward to it. I love the comic. I love Brian K. Vaughan. I love.
So good.
I've got like hardcover versions, softcover versions. When I was at work the other day, I saw they've released it's not a comedian version. It's
like an omnibus.
Like an omnibus version, I guess. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's got a different cover. It's pretty cool. Do I want that instead? But no. But I think for me, it's going to depend on how it's shot, and how serious they take it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried that it's going to be, even though the material isn't necessarily like that, they might make it a bit lighthearted. I don't know how they really could, but that's what I'm a little bit worried about. Like you said about like OC type vibe as well, but I'd like it to be, I don't know what, I want it to be serious as well. That's what I would like it to be, but it depends what they do with the source material. Do they stick to it as it is, or are they going to try and take the concept and keep the names and some of the ideas and just kind of make it their own as well?
Yeah.
I think I don't want to happen.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody listening who doesn't know the story of Y: The Last Man, it's basically a story about a disease that hits the planet. It's a pandemic, timely, that kills off, is it like 99% of males, I think. Just
Yes.
like in one instant, every male seems to just basically kill her and die, except for one guy. Hence why The Last Man. And the book is just a really good adventure of watching this character interact with the inhabitants of the world now, while at the same time there being a love story. And the bigger picture is obviously much bigger than just his love story, but that's sort of your emotional kind of entrance to him, I guess, is that it's this one person going to find the person that they're in love with. So I think you're right that there could be, in terms of tone, they might lean a little bit heavy on that. But just from that first image they showed, I get the impression that they're going to go down the route of it being a bit more kind of serious than kind of just a light-hearted one.
Yeah. It's a great, if you, like Nick was saying about the story, if you have not read the comic and you're a comic fan, then it's just
so good.
Jesus Christ, go and get a copy. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's written by Brian K. Vaughan. Like I said, it's written Saga and a bunch of other fantastic stuff. So it's well worth reading.
Yeah, so good.
Nice.
So
what was the second one you were going to say?
Second TV show I was going to say was DMZ, which I'm reading the book of at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's so cool. The concept of it is just awesome. The idea of having Manhattan as like a DMZ between basically a second civil war in America. I love just the kind of groups that inhabit Manhattan. It's similar to Why the Last Man, how there's almost like different kind of pockets of people. I think DMZ does that really well. So I'm excited to see what they do with the TV show, and I think it's going to be really different. I don't think they're going to necessarily follow the comics. I'm pretty sure Mighty's not in it.
No, I think they're going to go a little bit of a different. I think they're going to honor the idea behind it, obviously, and take a lot of inspiration from it. I think it'll be a little bit different.
Yeah, which
I'm actually okay with that though.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a cool idea, because again, like for something like that, you could always. It's not to say that what happened in the books didn't happen, because they could tell a whole different story about people living in the DMZ, and it not be that.
It works sometimes though. It works with comics. Sometimes it's worth the comics being different from the TV show, because then you get two different worlds. Sort of. There are some things I think need to follow the same pattern. Like if they were to ever do Saga as a TV show, I'd like that to follow the comics, because I'd like to see that material on the TV as well.
Yep.
But there are some that you could twist to your own. And you can see from I don't know if you watched the Invincible trailer, which is actually something I'm really excited about, as well as Amazon are releasing Invincible as an animated series, but that is different from the comic. The comic is actually quite fast paced. Everything happens very quickly in the comic. Like every time we turn a page, something's going on, but this looks like it's more drawn out and it's got a lot more going on. So that sort of stuff, like a bit of a different DMZ, makes sense to me. Like I'd want Why the Last Man to stay to the source material, but you can see it with The Walking Dead. Little tweaks from the comic that make it different, keep you on your toes a little bit, but most of it is the same.
Yeah.
That certainly could have maybe benefited from a little bit of a change of pace as well.
Yeah. Speaking of The Walking Dead, I sort of caught up with The Walking Dead, and I watched Fear the Walking Dead, and I much preferred Fear the Walking Dead in the later seasons, because it is that sense of there's enough familiarity and the world is the same, but the stories and the people are different. And I think what that does is it just keeps it more interesting. Like you see more of the world, and there's more things in there. It's like less about here's a villain for this season, and it's more almost just these people surviving in this world. And I think that's something that you can easily tap into with comic books, is that you can easily take the world from a comic book and create something new in TV or film or whatever, without having to completely honor the adaptation. So yeah, I think DMZ could be that thing for sure. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, how about TV shows your end? Anything?
TV shows my end. I mean, yeah, Why the Last Man's up there. Obviously the Marvel ones I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much else that I can really think of that I'm that overly excited about TV wise. I mean, I feel like there's something new every week that I haven't. I mean, Invincible, like I said, I'm really excited about the animated series for that. Quite into like cartoons, not not like kids cartoons, but I really like the old school Marvel cartoons and things. And I feel I've never really got into anime. A lot of people that I talk to really like anime, but this looks like a bit of a hybrid of anime and a cartoon. So I'm really excited to see that, because I don't know how an Invincible TV show with like actors and things would have worked on the main screen. So I'm really excited about that. I don't know what else there would be TV show. I feel there's probably loads of things. I just can't off the top of my head. I'm not sure what they would be. But
there's two more that definitely, like Book of Boba.
The Star Wars, Jesus,
like,
of course.
End of this year, I think that'd be really, really cool just to see more of that world. And Foundation, which is on Apple. I think that looks really interesting. It's sort of like I think it's an adaptation of a YA novel.
Oh yeah, I've read about this actually.
It looks definitely really, really cool, or sounds really cool, because I don't think they've put out a full trailer, but that sounds like it's going to be like a big, epic kind of sprawling series, and I think that's something that's really exciting. I think anytime you get anything like that, it's just interesting. So yeah, I think that's pretty much me for TV shows. I think there's always other things that I'm really excited about. Succession as well. That's coming back for a third season. No idea when.
Yeah, there's loads of shows, isn't there? There's so much quality with second seasons coming out, and we're definitely in a sort of golden age of high quality. I was actually saying that the other day with Yannicka, that so many actors and actresses now actually finding their feet more in TV shows than in the film world. There was one that we started on HBO Nordic. It had Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman.
Yep. The Undoing.
The Undoing. And then you have Nicole Kidman. She's a fantastic series called Pretty Little Lies. No, not Pretty Little Lies. That's
Big Little Lies.
Pretty Lies is the Big Little Lies. God, not Pretty Little Lies. Hell no. But she's in that. So is Reese Witherspoon, and so are all these other actors and actresses. And it's just it's crazy. It's crazy that those sort of limited series are so big for actors and actresses now, and I get it, because some of the writing is just so good, and there's a lot more to it than just an hour and a half of a film. But it's crazy, isn't it? Crazy how much good stuff there is out there.
Yeah,
and how easy it is just to recommend someone something they've not seen. And we've got with Disney Plus, and now you've got Star on there as well. And it's Netflix and Amazon. We don't subscribe to everything where I am, but there's just loads. There's loads coming out as well. I know for a fact as soon as we finish this, we'll be like, those were the TV shows I was going to talk about. But of course, they've gone out of my head now while we're recording. But there's a lot out there. And it's some really good stuff. And it's what I meant to say when you were talking about DMZ is that it's unreal how many comics are getting transformed into TV shows now, aren't they? In films, like there's not one comic that I don't read where I don't read a couple of weeks later, this is being released as a TV show. You've got Sweet Tooth coming out. They're working on Black Science. They're working on just anything you read. Like it's only going to be a matter of days before like Kill or Be Killed is announced as a HBO series. Amazing, and it's just crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
There is so much.
And comics are, I'd always recommend reading the comics before you see the TV show or the film, as I would recommend reading a book before you see the film or the TV show. But man, there's a lot coming out, which actually leads into a book that's coming out as a film, which we both talked about, which we're very excited about in the past, which is Dune.
Oh my God. How did we forget about Dune?
How did we forget about Dune? It's going to be
so good.
Epic.
Just anything that Denis Villeneuve puts out is just absolute magic. Really interesting storyteller and director. I think he's got a real visual aesthetic. Cast, again, amazing. Like every film that he's done cast-wise has been sensational. I think he always kind of gets the best performances out of people as well. Like something like Arrival, I think is arguably Jeremy Renner's best performance.
Arrival's really good, isn't it? I actually watched it recently.
So good. Blade Runner 2049, like amazing, great cast. You again just
is it amazing, Nick?
God, I love it. I love Blade Runner. It's so good. Yeah.
Do we love it, Nick? I don't
do.
think we do.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. But yeah, I'm really excited for Dune. I think it'll be cool.
It's going to be awesome. There's a lot of hype around it. It's another one of those ones that's a bit of a bummer that it's been delayed. I mean, there's loads. I mean, you think about Dune, you think about all this like HBO stuff releasing. You got like the Suicide Squad as well. that's coming out, which I'm really excited about. I know it's another comic film, but there's just so much coming out. This year is just jam packed, and it's strange. I actually read in Empire magazine just before we came on the podcast that how much these 12 months, people look back on 2020 and think it's a terrible year, obviously in so many ways, but somehow, some way, even though the cinemas have really, really suffered, there's still been a lot of stuff coming out, and a lot of people have been able to work on projects to make them even better. You think about James Gunn's situation, where he was lucky enough that he filmed everything for the Suicide Squad, but he used the lockdown to make that film as hopefully as good as it's going to be.
And he wrote Peacemaker
somehow,
well.
and he wrote Peacemaker, but somehow we've got all of the stuff that we didn't get to see in 2020 is now coming out this year. It's like, although the cinemas have really struggled, you've got to hope that, come May, June, July, hopefully when the world is a lot of a better place, that there's going to be 6 months of just absolute fucking chaos with, all these films coming out of the cinema, all these TV shows coming out. We're just like, how are we going to keep up with everything? It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And everything that's now been written is all going to be shot. So, we've got 2 years of hopefully a huge boom in the cinemas and everything. So it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nuts. And then I guess touching lastly, kind of comic book wise, I always find it really hard to kind of say what I'm excited about in a comic book year, because so much of it is announced like 2-3 months before it comes out, especially in the indie world, which is the kind of books that I'm hooked on. I think there's going to be so much of that, but video games, I think there's going to be a few out this year that's going to be pretty big, whether or not they get delayed because of COVID. I don't know. There's
a lot of drops, isn't there? You've got like Gotham Knights for the PlayStation 5 and things like that, which is going to be huge. You've got hopefully God of War 2, which is going to be fantastic as well. So comics wise, there's loads. I mean, there's so much that I assume will come out as a graphic novel form, but if people are listening and they like to read the comics, then Strange Adventures by Tom King is a fantastic comic. You've got another Tom King. You've got 2 other Tom King ones, Rorschach, which has been fantastic as well, and Batman Catwoman, which is also a great read. Crossover by Donny Cates, which I read, which I touched on at the beginning. So basically a comic that is incorporating several of Donny Cates's comic universes and showing them all together with some clever teasers towards DC and Marvel characters, but he's not actually referencing them. I just did a hand gesture then, but no one else can see it but Nick. And I don't even think it made sense, but I did the quotation marks. But there's a lot of good stuff coming out there. There's some new X-Men stuff by Hickman, which has been fantastic, and Immortal Hulk by Alan Wig is fantastic as well. It's just some top quality comics to come out this year, and it's a really exciting time to be a fan of comics, basically.
Yeah, very much so. I think
comics, TV shows, films, just mental.
There is a lot to come out this year, and I think a lot that also probably hasn't been announced yet that will come out. I think it's just going to be crazy.
It's going to be good, and pretty much everything we've spoken about, we will most likely do some form of a podcast on or talk about.
Very much so.
A lot to unpack, and I'm really excited about everything.
Yep.
Is there any others you wanted to just go through before we wrap this bad boy up?
I think that's it. Slight honorary mention. Well, 2 actually that I've forgotten. TV show wise, Stranger Things.
Yes.
Yes,
Nick.
That's back. That'd be awesome. And started it yesterday. I watched the first episode and thought it was amazing. Superman and Lois.
Sometimes you just disappoint me.
Honestly, I went into it kind of lowish expectations. I really like him as Superman. Wasn't really sure what else to expect, because I was like, is it going to be the same as every other CW show where it's kind of just a villain of the week and just whatever? But opening 5-10 minutes, there's like so much heart and so much done with it in terms of storytelling that I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Visually, it looks like they've just taken reference from Man of Steel. It's all sort of portrayed like that, and they do a lot of cool things with the characters that I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Just going to tell you now, Nick, you're going to end up disappointed.
Possibly.
Just like we were with the Flash and Arrow.
I could be.
Legends of Tomorrow. And
the thing that I found interesting about it is that there's like, I don't know where the hell it's set in the timeline of CW stuff. Like, there's no connection to anything else. They don't mention Crisis.
Maybe it's just on its own.
That's kind of what I wondered. I was like, I mean,
if that's the case, if it's completely separate, I would be more interested than if it was all like, oh, remember Oliver Queen?
Yeah, there's no. I was thinking, I was like, oh, the opening will be like, here's Superman and here's the things that happen post Crisis. Like we did Crisis and that was a huge event. There was like no talk of it. It's basically just straight up. Here's the relationship between Superman and Lois. Here's how it started, and this is now where they're going.
I will watch the first episode, Nick.
Give it a try, because honestly, it did surprise me, and at the end of it, I was like, that was fucking good.
I'm gonna watch the first 4 episodes, like you did for me for WandaVision, and you will find out in GIF form what I thought about it, like you did.
Yeah,
fantastic. All right, well, that wraps up our 2021 podcast. We've probably only covered 1% of everything that's coming out that most people were looking forward to as well, but we covered some of the big stuff. I like to think a lot of time went to the Snyder Cut, but that is out in just a few weeks, so it's a really big deal. So it's going to be good. So our next podcast that we're going to record is going to cover our favorite video games, and it's going to be the first volume because we'll do several of these, and we're going to talk about games I love from my long career of video gaming. Nick's as well will cover things on the N64, PlayStation 2 and 3, GameCube, and all sorts of different amazing computer devices. Maybe even the Amiga.
Oof, gosh.
Did you ever play an Amiga?
I don't think I did. I think I played a Dreamcast.
Good times. Oh, Dreamcast. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we might talk about a Dreamcast. We'll see. But that's going to be our next episode. So if you enjoyed listening to us, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Twitter at ConsistentlyPod. You can share any of these podcasts with your friends, with your family, with people you don't like if they don't like things we talk about. So please spread the word, and we look forward to you joining us next time on the Consistently OK podcast. Nick, you have a good rest of the week, my friend.
Thanks, mate. You too.
All right. Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.